And welcome back, everyone, to Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's Pokemon Team Creation Series request comes to us from, who was it? Seriously, I wrote the name down. Where are you? JRC. There you are, JRC. A long time ago. So who asked the question, what is Ben Riley, aka the Scarlet Spiders, Pokemon team? Now, I'm going to be flat out honest. I think I've done Peter Parker, standard Peter Parker. I've done Miles. I've done Gwen. I think I've done Miguel as well. I think in terms of alternate spider people, this is where I'm going to probably leave it for now. I mean, sure, if someone gives me a request for, say, like Spider-Man Noir or Penny Parker or Peter Porker or something like, yeah, in theory, I'll do those too. But the problem is you can only do so much variations on Pokemon on teams when you're dealing with people who are just derivative characters of each other. So, yeah. But Ben Riley is actually from the Clone Saga, a clone of Peter Parker, and has unfortunately died and been brought back multiple times. He is a clone multiple times over. So, right out the gate, how do we start things up? Well, and this is one of the few times I don't have a proper, like, just image that I can just show here. Well, proper in the sense of how the rest of them look. His starter is Spidops, but a shiny Spidops, as it is red, Scarlet, basically. It actually looks more like Deadpool than Ben, to be fair. I could have gone with like the in-game model, but I prefer not using those. They're usually too blurry. But makes sense. He is powerful, and technically he's got more abilities than Peter does, thanks to psionic goo exposure. I don't know. But he is still, I still wouldn't put him as, like, say, the main spider guy, though, in terms of, like, having a Ariado or something like that. I think Spidops works well here. But he's like all other spider people. I usually put a fighting type on the team because that's their bread and butter usually of how they fight. A lot of them have some extra abilities, Miles, Ben, obviously. But fighting types are still, they're kind of necessary on the team. And I went with let's try that again. I went with Lucario. For actual multiple reasons. One, fighting type. It's also a good fighting type, standard fighting type. However, its ability to use Aura references a little bit of the Spider Sense capabilities. Also references, apparently, Ben's ability to use light constructs, thanks to the psionic goo. And it's a reference to the time that he became the Jackal, a Spider-Man character who was trying to use, the version he was very different than the actual Jackal character. But this is a guy who was trying to use the cloning and resurrection tech for good. So that's a big reference right there that I think is very valuable. There's one other Jackal reference we'll get to in a little bit, but next on the list is Mimikyu. Now, Mimikyu, you might think, wait, what? But, A, he's died multiple times, so the ghost type applies. That's a side reason. More to the point, though, that because he is disguised, Mimikyu is disguised as a Pikachu. This is not obviously what Mimikyu actually looks like. And so the fact that Ben Riley is a Spider-Man, but kind of isn't Spider-Man, if you get my drift, I think actually works in context here. He's a guy who kind of wants to make his own way, but also is going to be always burdened by the guise of the spider. Now, the other reference to the Jackal that I made here is the only Pokemon that can straight up resurrect a Mon. Is that Palmot. Palmot literally has, I believe, Revival Blessing as it is. Literally has the ability to resurrect a fainted Pokemon, which would be death in this case. Now, hypothetically, I could have gone Ho-Oh, which had the ability to resurrect Mon and resurrect the 3 Sacred Beasts. Sacred Legendary Beasts. So, hypothetically, I could have done that, but realistically, no. Now, there are Mon that'll say that can, I think there's like 1 or 2 other minor abilities out there that can resurrect fainted Pokemon. Actually, no, they can't. I'm thinking Wish, which can resurrect or restore health upon switch out. But no, as far as I know, Palmot is the only one that has a move that straight up resurrects something. Now, it's only a one-shot, but still. And then beyond that, I went with, for his 5th Mon. Now, this one might make you wonder a little bit, but bear with me. Pangoro. Why? I knew I needed another fighting type on the team. First off, kind of rounded out the team. But also, he's a lot more edgy and angsty. And Pangoro is certainly, being a dark type, falls into that category a bit. He's also a bit more kind of like a bully punk style one. He's got that harder edge compared to other, not compared to. He's got a harder edge to him per se, but he's actually also, in the end, he actually is he's got a soft heart. He does protect innocent Pokemon, and that would be what Ben Riley does. So there you go. And last but not least, unfortunately, we do not have a lot of genetically altered clone Pokemon. Look, his trump card is Ace. Mewtwo. It's the only Pokemon that is a straight out clone. The few other like man-made Pokemon that we know of, say like Porygon, Castform, type Null, they're not clones of any Pokemon. Porygon and Ditto are not clones, although Ditto's the alleged rumor is it's a failed clone of Mew. And there's evidence to back that up, but there's also evidence against it too, regardless. And Type Null is not a clone. It's literally a hodgepodge, because no one can get a DNA sample of Arceus. But it's just a hodgepodge chimera to try to make Arceus, hence its ability is called the RKS system. So with that said, how balanced, as always, is this team? And honestly, it's fairly balanced. There's not really any one type that like railroads this team. But it's got times 2 weakness to fire with your bug and your steel type with Lucario. It's got times 3 weakness to flying with the 3 fighting types. Sorry, 2 fighting types, not including Lucario because of steel resist flying, and the bug type. It's got a times 2 weakness to psychic with the 2 non-dark fighting types. Times 2 weakness to ground with the steel typing and the electric typing, times 2 weakness to fighting with the steel typing and the dark typing, times 2 weakness to ghost with the 1 psychic and the other ghost type, and a times 2 weakness to fairy with the two fighting types that don't have steel to make it neutral. However, on the flip side of things, it's a times 3 strength against psychic because you have the dark type, the bug type, and the ghost type. A times 5 strength against dark, with the only one who's not strong against dark being, ironically, Mewtwo, the strongest one on the team. Times 3 strength against rock, that's self-explanatory with the fighting. Same with normal, ice, steel. Times 2 strength against fighting with the psychic type and the fairy type, and a times 2 strength against ghost with the dark type and the fairy type. With the ghost type. So honestly, it's a pretty balanced out team, and you definitely got some edges, a lot of edges against certain typings. The problem, though, is Spidops is your partner Pokemon. Now, luckily, when it comes to, say, like the Kanto region, because it can learn Pursuit, it can learn it early on, and you would be able to have a Spidops by the time you fight Brock. Even though it's slow as hell, you would probably be able to manage to beat Brock, because most versions of Brock doesn't have a rock type. So you'll be okay there. And after that, you won't struggle until you hit Koga. And the reason you're going to struggle against Koga just comes down to the fact that except for Mimikyu, no, actually, not even. The ghost type makes poison at least neutral. And Lucario is at least immune to poison. But the problem is, Palmet's got electrical moves, sure, and maybe some dark moves on Pangoro. But the fighting type is historically, it sucks against poison. So you're going to struggle against Koga. You might have some minor issues going into the league, like nothing serious. You can handle Lorelei, no problem. Should be able to handle Bruno, no problem. Agatha and Lance might be a little troublesome, but because Agatha is also a poison trainer, in fact, she's really more of a poison trainer than a ghost trainer, your Mewtwo should be able to kind of clean house with it. But then we get to Blue. Now, with Blue, Spidops goes down. The problem with Spidops is it's not like other stars where you want to swap out. Spidops is really too weak to really do much in the long game. So get what moves you can out real quick, and then it dies. You would probably bring out Mewtwo next, which, okay, fine. He brings out Alakazam, because that's probably what his AI is going to tell you to do. And then you're probably going to be duking him out for a little bit. He'll bring out Rhydon. Mewtwo can only handle so much, even being a legendary. Mewtwo probably goes down by the time he has 2 or 3 Mon left, so he'll have a Water, Grass, and a Fire type left. Unfortunately, except for the Water type, you don't have any real strength against the other 2. I mean, Grass isn't going to give you that much of a problem, but the Fire most likely will. So it's a strong maybe. Right out the gate, though, I'm going to tell you right now, between Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, You cannot even get past the hell, Kalos. You can't even get past the first gym. Why? Johto, it's a flying type gym, and even depending on the version, Pidgeotto is only level 9. Even if I give you the 2 level amp, which I allow, you still don't have Spidops. Hell, even if you do go, because I think Heart Gold Soul Silver puts them at like 13, which is like how the hell do you have a Pidgeotto that week? Even if it's 13 and you do have Spidops, it's too slow. You're probably not taking down the Pidgeotto because it still has a flying type move, so that's no good. And you still wouldn't be able to beat Lance anyway. Yeah, you can handle the flying parts of the team with Palmot, but Palmot is not going to be able to take down the Dragonites on its own. The Charizard and the Aerodactyl are both faster than it, and you don't want to just risk your one revival blessing. And so all your team is kind of in trouble. Even Mewtwo really isn't all that impressive. I mean, it's got to be the same level or like 2 levels higher at best. So even Mewtwo's going to struggle. So I don't think you'd beat Lance. Hoenn, unfortunately, Roxanne has Nose Pass, which has Rock Tomb. Your Spidops is done. And then and Steven, yeah, you got fighting types on the team, sure, but you still got to take down the Skarmory, which you're going to have to bring out Palmont. And he's got Aerial Ace on that thing. He's going to be setting up Toxic or Spike, so that's problematic. Even if you take that thing down, you're still going to have to deal with Claydol, which you have no strong answer to anymore at that point. You also got to deal with Anorus, which, again, no good option because Bug resists fighting. And you also got to deal with Metagross, who, yes, you do have Pangoro with some Dark-type moves on it, but that's assuming you have the Dark-type moves. And sure, you got Mimikyu with Ghost, but that's assuming you can get any hits on that. Like Metagross is just going to completely, and that's if you're going Ruby and Omega Ruby and Sapphire, that's Mega Metagross. So have fun with that. Sinnoh, you're not getting past Rorik. Again, 3 rock types. Spidops is slower than all of them, and that Cranidos hits hard. Even if you could get to Cynthia, Spidops goes down. Let's just right there. So then you have to really weigh your options of what comes out next. It's got to be Mimikyu, I think, because you'll have Fairy-type moves, and even then, that's not going to be a guarantee to take down the Spiritomb. You're not going to one-shot it. So Spiritomb might end up taking down the Mimikyu, or the Mimikyu is going to be on life support after that. She's going to bring out Roserade. You'll have to let the Mimikyu die. Your best bet after that is probably to bring out Lucario because of the Steel typing, which is fine. Roserade would probably grow down, but then she's still got Lucario of her own. Gastrodon, which is probably the next one to come out because I think it has Earthquake on it, which means Lucario is going down. Palmot's no good here because it's immune to its electric typing. So Pangoro or Mewtwo. And look, she's still going to have 4 mon over your 3 at that point, and your third mon's going to be weakened. I don't see it happening. So yeah, you can't beat her in Sinnoh. You stop, I think, at Roxy in Black and White too, just because the poison typing is your team's no good against poison. Even Lucario at that point is no good, just because it's the Steel. Even the Steel being immune, you're not going to have any move that's really going to be doing much, except maybe Metal Claw. Even if you could get past them, both a Berg is going to be a little tricky to deal with. Again, type resisting because Bug resists. Thing of this, it resists fighting, and it also resists Ghost. And it resists fairies, so you're going to be struggling. I think, personally, even if you could get to the Elite Four members and you could get to the champion, this is a team that is not designed to take Alderaan at all. 3 highly powerful bug types. One's only weak to fire, which you don't even have. Acelgor outspeeds everything on this team, even Mewtwo. And Volcarona is just going to sweep. Like, this team is not designed to handle Alder. Nor Iris either, because, again, you're dealing with Hydreigon, which right out the gate, yeah, fighting move, sure, but it's a pseudo. It, again, is going to have stat lines that kind of just trumping most of the things that are here. Yeah, you got Mimikyu, but unfortunately, it's losing its disguise, guaranteed. And it's unlikely, it doesn't have the stats to take that thing down. So it's going to get a hit off, and then it's going to go down. And then maybe you use Revival Blessing with Palmot to bring it back. And then maybe Palmot's able to get hit on, either takes the Hydreigon down, and then you bring up Mimikyu again. So there you go. But then she's still got Haxorus, Drudagon, Lapras, Aggron, and Archeon. Like it's just you're not designed to take on Unova with this team. Viola too. You would not. You'd have Tarantula. You wouldn't have Spidos. The level cap. It wouldn't work here. And unfortunately, I believe Vivian has Gust. And even if it, so you're kind of in trouble. No, it has Tackle, Infestation, and Harden. My bad. Even still, stat-wise, you struggle with the Surskit. Even if you could get to Diantha, Halucha's taking down the Spidops, that's a given. Now, Halucha probably you'd probably want to bring out Mimikyu because, obviously, fighting type versus fairy type. And if she uses Flying Press again, sure, you'll be immune there. But I don't think Mimikyu, again, has the stats to overall take down Halucha in one hit, which means a Poison Jab's going to happen, the Disguise wears off, and then you take down Halucha. Because Halucha, unfortunately, is going to outspeed every time. Actually, because it's going to outspeed, it's going to hit, the Disguise goes, it gets hit with a Disarming Voice or something. It's probably still alive just because, again, Mimikyu's not going to be strong enough to take Halucha down completely. Then it hits with a Poison Jab, and then it's either neutral or you're done there, or you take it down. Then she brings out Tyranitar, which takes down the Mimikyu. Then you bring out one of your fighting types. I personally go with Lucario here. It might not take the Tyranitar down immediately, but it will take the Tyranitar down. Tyrantar's still going to take a giant chunk out of Lucario because that thing hits hard. Aurora's comes next because her AI doesn't change it up. So you would take down the Auroras, no problem. But then Goodra comes out, and Goodra is tanky. And it would probably take down the Lucario. Now, that being said, you have Revival Blessing on Palmon. I would probably then, you know what, honestly, I'd go Mewtwo, go against it, struggle. You either take down the Goodra and then get taken down by the Gourgeist, or the Goodra goes down, or the Goodra takes down the Mewtwo. It's probably more the former. So Mewtwo would probably take down the Goodra, but then gets taken down by the Gourgeist. You then bring out Pangoro, which is a dark type, takes down that. Now, Mega Gardevoir comes out. You then would get whatever hit you can off on it. It's going to go down. You bring out Palmont. You do Revival Blessing. Now, the catch on this, though, is if you're outsped, it's over. Or if you can't survive one hit, it's over. And unfortunately, she has both Psychic and Fairy moves, which means you are not surviving a hit. So, honestly, you probably actually want to switch into Palmont first against Gourgeist. Use the Revival Blessing to bring back Mewtwo. See if you can take down the Gourgeist. If you can't, then bring out the Pangoro. And then pray you can take down the... Pray you can take down the Gardevoir. Because even if you go in with a full health Mewtwo, a Mega Gardevoir has higher stats than the full power Mewtwo, I think, if I remember correctly. Either way, or at least she has in many ways superior stats and a better typing. So, difficult. Galar, you stop at Gym 3 because Bug type, strong against Milo, no problem. Nessa, you would have a fighting type against her, ironically, her rock type, water type. But then Kobu, like you just fire Bug goes down. Fairy actually is not good against fire. It's fire resists it, and it's not weak against it, but it's no good against it. And Lucario would be Steel, so you're actually kind of stop at Gym 3. And even if you didn't stop at Gym 3 and got all the way to Leon would cleave through you. Because even though you got Pangoro on the team, which is a dark type, which could do some damage against the Dragapult, and that's what it really comes down to. You got to get past first off the Aegis Slash, which isn't insanely difficult, unless you because Mimikyu could probably get past it, although it probably goes down. But then Dragapult comes out, takes care of the Mimikyu. Your best bet is going to be freaking Pangoro with dark type moves, but you're gonna have to say that Dragapult is faster by a long mile, and B, stat-wise, even though his defenses aren't great, it's still a pseudo, so it's still probably able, and it's a dragon too, so it can still probably take a hit, which means the Pangoro would go down. You probably want to go into Lucario at this point, I would guess, and then actually you wouldn't, because the Flamethrower would take that thing down. So actually, you want to go Palmont, use Revival Blessing, probably on the Pangoro. Hope you can take down the Dragapult. And then if you do, then you got to deal with a Haxorus. And unfortunately, that Haxorus is getting a Swords Dance or a Dragon Dance off, which means you are about to get cleaved very hard. Yeah, I just don't think Leon's, and that's not even factoring in his random starter, it's this random Mon that replaces the starter, and Charizard. Like, it's just no go. And then Paldea happens, and quite frankly, you should be overall fine in Paldea up until Rhyme. Rhyme being a Ghost-type gym leader is difficult, even with 2 Mon that are strong against Ghost. One of them is also a Ghost, so it's a bit of a mismatch. But all the gym leaders other than that shouldn't be that hard. And then the Elite Four, that does get a little tricky. Rika's got strength against Lucario and Palmont. You don't actually have any real strength against anything on her team. You should be fine against the steel typing of Poppy. Larry could be problematic because even though Palmont's an electric type, he has an electric flying type and a grass type on the team. So with Tropius. So that's a little hit and miss. And Hassel is a dragon type specialist. And his team's pretty solid. So I don't personally think you get past the Elite Four, but if you did, you should be able to beat Gita because half her team is weak to fighting. I mean, she's got what? Abalog. Yeah, half her team. Her quote-unquote ace turns into a pure rock type of all things. So, yeah, her Glamora, her King Gambit, and her Abalog are all weak to fighting. So if you can just get past her first few Mon, you should be fine, which really wouldn't be that hard. She starts off with a Espathra. You just switch into either Mimikyu or Pangoro. Veluza, keep it there. Go-Goat, a little difficult to deal with just because of like Leechhorn and all that stuff, but yeah. King Gambit, fighting move. Avalog, fighting move. Gamora, fighting move. It really wouldn't be that difficult to beat her. But I struggle to say you'd get to her. Either way, though, that's my thoughts. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks next time.